Hello, everyone. This is Guildhall News Agency interview. My name is Mokliak, and I'm very delighted to introduce you today, the member of the French National Assembly, also a member of the Defense Committee, and I would add a friend for Ukraine, Miss Natalia Pouzyreff is here. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Taras.
Ms. Pouzyreff, today's article of the General Commander of Ukrainian Armed Forces, General Valery Zaluzhny, became a kind of a cold shower both for the Western societies and for the Ukrainian society as well. We do see the manpower advantage of the Russian armed forces, and also we do see the weaponry advantages in a number of the areas which General Zaluzhny has mentioned. We also know that Russia will spend 30% of their year budget for military expenses to wage the war of attrition. What's Western relevant response to such a Russian approach should be on the table here?
Yeah, first, we have to consider that the military support to Ukraine has to be in the long run. So it means that we in Europe, the member states have to plan for long-term support to Ukraine, meaning that we have to produce more equipment, weapons, faster, let's say, and keep on delivering more ammunition and weapons to Ukraine, because we know that on the other side, Russian army is getting more and more equipment. It seems that their production capabilities are raising, and as you mentioned, they are putting a big effort in budgetary efforts in their defense sector. So what we have first to consider is that it's a long-run effort. Then we have to ramp up our capabilities, production capabilities. Then we have also to give a closer support for maintenance, repair, overall of the armaments that are in use in Ukraine, because this is what we call operational readiness, and this is key during a long-term conflict. So if I come back to more precisely the actions that have been taken in some countries, of course, you have seen a raise in defense expenditures in many countries. In France, in fact, we had already started the ramp up in 2017, but we are increasing our defense budget for the next 7 years to come. So it will be more than 400 billions for the 7 years to come. And so we will definitely reach the 2% of GDP. That is a target for the NATO partners. Germany has put a big budget in place as well, 100 billions to be spent in a short term. Still, they have to I would say, to renew their defense capabilities in terms of the process of their army. The French army is more an operational army because we have been engaged in various conflicts, and including, the Sahel. The other nations are getting prepared. Poland has put a big effort. They want to reach 4% of defense expenditures. Latvia aiming at 3%. So together with the UK, I think if we include UK in this picture, there's quite a huge ramp up in defense expenditures. It shows the concern that we have to say, get ready in case the conflict may extend. So far, NATO has been very efficient in securing the EU borders. But there's the other side of it, is that depending on the implication of the Americans, depending of the next elections in the United States, and they have debates between Democrats and Republicans, I think they will support Ukraine on the long run, but there may be some disturbances in the way. So it means that we have to strengthen the European pillar within NATO. That's an objective, a key objective.
Ms. Pouzyreff, additionally to the defense industry's capacities, there are some issues which are the matter of the political will. So if we speak about the jets issue, for instance, or the long-range missiles issue in some countries, these are about the political will. What are the reasons for such a restraining of the political will, generally speaking, within the Western political alliance? And do you see the options for this to be changed?
So the decision has been made by France and the UK to provide Ukraine with long-range missile capabilities. These missiles are, I think, a very good answer to the needs of Ukraine to I would say
to counter
missions, to accomplish some missions that are key to regain some territories in the south. So for me, these weapons are game changers, maybe more than the aircraft, by the way. But these missiles are maybe are very complex or sophisticated missiles, and they are produced with a low rate of production every month. But still, I think it is a game changer to send these kind of weapons. Then the Americans are providing the ATACMS as well. So there's, we could say, some reluctancy in Germany to provide the Taurus missile. But I suppose this is because, Germany is in a coalition and it's very difficult to get things started, but we shall see what will happen. So definitely, I think these long-range missiles are key. And for the F-16, I cannot comment. We don't have F-16 in France. We are not involved into that.
It's not about F-16, right? There are a lot of other jets also in the US. There are hundreds and thousands even of jets and helicopters, which could be very useful here on the battlefield. And that's why I'm asking about the political will. So, of course, we are extremely grateful for the long-range missiles, but here is also the question about the volume of those providings, right? How much of those long-range missiles we will get, nobody knows. It's secret, but generally speaking, according to General Zaluzhny assessment, the ball is on the Russian side. Actually, they are dominating, despite we have those long-range missiles right now, but mentioning that it is extremely significant. So do you see any options for this war not to be turned into a war of attrition because of the changing of the military strategy from the Western side?
I think definitely there's a political will to provide with state-of-the-art, to provide Ukraine with state-of-the-art weapons. It's not a matter of will, it's a matter of capability. Even in our forces, we don't have large stocks, It's not like maybe in the
It's not about France, of course. You did probably all what you can actually for Ukraine.
No, it's not just. It's about, you know, UK, France, European countries. They don't have large stocks, and
I'm
even for the
speaking
Americans,
generally.
even if for the Americans, I think maybe they don't want to diminish their stocks too much. So in a way, that's why the second thing that is important, we want to increase the pace of production of munitions, ammunition, 155 shells, but also missiles, and open like credits as well, financing facilities for Ukraine to buy more of these equipments. But first we have to produce them. That's the issue. That's why in France we started this, what we say, we go through economy of war. Well, it's not per se a war economy as it used to be during the First and the Second World War, but there have been meetings between the government and the industries to see how we could ramp up very quickly and have more, you know, increase the rate of production, because this is really what we need. We need to secure first the key components, and second, we need to secure human resources. So it's about skills. And the more sophisticated the weapon is, the more complexity is for the ramp up, and the more costly it is. But I think the political will is there. It's the capabilities which are not as high.
Ms. Pouzyreff, another important dimension here is to put pressure on Russian defense industry, right, in order to undermine their capabilities to produce weaponry to continue waging this war of attrition. Speaking precisely about the EU sanctions regime, we know that the problem of the so-called parallel import is on the table right now, when EU companies on their own sell goods to the third countries, and then they go to Russia, actually, through various countries. Today, it is tackling on a level of criminal investigation. So it's like investigated, and then the measures are taken against each precise company. Maybe there is a need actually to raise this issue on the EU level in order to tackle this parallel import on the level of the EU sanctions to those companies who make this parallel import.
But I think that this problem, this issue has been taken care of at the European level. There's definitely inquiries going on, and actually yesterday I met with a representative of various think tanks, Ukrainian think tanks, who were on a trip to France. And we talked about the circumvention of sanctions. We talked about, and I told them, if you have more information, because they are providing useful information, if you have more information, please give us some information that we can also, you know, provide to our governments and the European level, because as parliamentarians, we can push the investigation if we hear about some you know, some companies that might use the third countries to export to Russia. So we are part of I would say this inquiry channel. But at the European level, I think it has been made clear to some countries that they should not resell some products that could benefit to the Russian defense.
It's
the thing is that there are many
companies. It's more about EU companies. So right now the EU tries to deal with those companies, investigating and prosecuting actually each particular issue. And it takes a long time, and it's not efficient if it is on the level of sanctions, EU sanctions, and you see actually the evidence that, for instance, each particular country use this parallel import methodology to sell goods, actually, EU could just put sanctions on this country, but today it is not so.
Yes, the thing is that these are dual-use components, and we have very strict regulations regarding exportation of military components or whatever, and we have some regulation regarding dual-use components, so for both civilian and military, but it's not as strict, you know, and
There are
I think
20
it's where you're
billion,
right.
20
We have,
billion amount of this
yeah,
parallel import between EU and Russia, 20 billion a year.
yeah, this I don't know about this figure, but this is something you know, I would like to propose is that our regulation office should be more cautious about the re-export, you know, when you give a license to export some dual use
Absolutely.
components, but the re-export and get more evidence that it won't end up in Russia. So that
Thank
is
you.
something that, as parliamentarian, especially at the Defense Committee, we can push. And this was exactly the theme of our conversation with Ukrainian think tanks yesterday. It was organized by your embassy in Paris, and I think we get more and more concerned about that.
I
So I
believe
don't
it's
have
constructive.
figures, but we need to get the information from your side, and then we will return to our regulation bodies.
I believe it is constructive. So thank you again for your personal position on this issue. Ms. Pouzyreff, another important area of Russian economy which is still not under the sanctions is Russian nuclear industry, precisely speaking about Russian state company Rosatom. I know that there is an ongoing discussion in the EU and in France right now whether to sanctions Rosatom or not. What is your personal position about this issue?
As a matter of fact, I was involved in nuclear civil activities. Well, as a I would say as a watcher for the parliament about safety in the nuclear field. So I'm very concerned about the cycle of the nuclear fuel. You know, it's important for safety reason not to disturb what is, you know, going on in the nuclear plants. So I consider that the fact that neither the Americans nor the Europeans decided to put the nuclear sector within the sanctions, I think it's better like that. Personally, I think we should be careful not to disturb, you know, the cycle, the life cycle of the uranium fuel. What is made at the moment, what is done at the moment, is to with the support of some Western companies, is to get rid of some special of, how to say, yes, specific equipment that are originated from Rosatom, that to get rid of that. But for that, you know, it will take months, years, because it's a very long-term process. So I know it's in the way. I know some countries in the European Union are trying to equip themselves with new nuclear plants that will be originated, of course, from Europe or the US, but or some other places, but not from Russia. So the dependency on the Russian atom, if I can say so, will be decreasing, definitely.
Also a part of this Rosatom issue is Rosatom nuclear projects in the European Union. So if we stay a part of the nuclear fuel, stay in a part of the uranium, right? There are also some projects which are still ongoing. So, and there was also a discussion whether to freeze this Rosatom's project in Europe. I'm interested, what do you think about those projects freezing?
Well, as long as the sector is not concerned by sanctions, it means that the business can still go on. That's I would say very I say it on a very neutral way, but this is factual. You know, that's the so I'm sure there are considerations, political consideration, that could put this project, slow down this project, or put them in a stop, in a halt. It's true that for the time being, I don't have a clear view on that. So this is another area to investigate. But, you know, just being factual, because it's not covered by sanctions, so it means that the business can still go on.
Thank you. With my last question, I would like to take here the latest news, actually. And I see that just today, Putin denounced the international agreement of prohibition for the nuclear weaponry exercises, actually. So they just denounced it. I see it as a part of the Russian nuclear frightening against West. How do you think, what should be the response from the West here?
I think some response has been already given. That's why things are relatively stable regarding this issue, because Russia is still agitating the nuclear threats. But at the beginning, since the beginning of this war, United States, France said we have also the nuclear weapon. So I think this is the key role of deterrence, nuclear deterrence, is that if anything happens in that field, there will be responses. So it's a part of the French doctrine that is very strong anyway. Deterrence is the cornerstone of our security, and we cannot imagine that, you know, anyone would take the risk, take the chance to go into this direction. So this is, I think, for us, very clear in France. Maybe some countries in Europe are considering, you know, that they are on the first line and that they could be attacked by Russian tanks or whatever, or that it could be a dirty bomb. But we told to these countries, Poland and the Baltic states, that if any European country is attacked, there will be a response, not nuclear response, of course, at first, but there will be a response from France, because we have to secure our European partners, and they can count on us. We have a strong doctrine, as you know, in France, and the escalation could go very high. So this is where we stand.
Really appreciate having this conversation with you. I do believe that the challenges which we facing right now, they require a strong position, and thank you very much for your personal involvement into tackling those challenges.
Thank you, and have a good day, and we are standing by the Ukrainians.
Thank you very much.